The resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Lagos State says the electoral umpire is ready for the governorship in State House of Assembly election scheduled for Saturday.
He also says the commission is ready for the smooth conduct of the rerun National Assembly elections in the affected constituencies in the state. Karima Salami has details.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has identified 6 federal constituencies where the National Assembly elections were inconclusive on February 23rd. The commission blames political thuggery, manual voting and overvoting, amongst other irregularities, as reasons for the cancellation.
INEC believes in the rule of law, and therefore Section 33 of the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of 2019 elections stipulates that where the margin of lead between the 2 leading candidates is in an election is not in excess of the total number of voters registered in polling units where elections are not held or voided, in line with Sections 26 and 53 of the Electoral Act, the returning officer shall decline to make a return until polls have taken place in the affected polling units and the results collated into the relevant forms for declaration and return.
Lagos State Resident Electoral Commissioner Sam Olumekun says the commission is fully prepared ahead of March 9th election alongside the rerun.
For the avoidance of doubt, ballot papers for the federal constituency elections will be made available for voters in the affected polling units for simultaneous voting. That is, each accredited voter in such areas or units is to collect 3 different ballot papers, and after casting a vote, such person is to drop his or her ballot paper in respective ballot boxes designated for these elections. Red ballot box will be for governorship, black for the State House of Assembly elections, and green for the federal constituency elections.
INEC is asking all eligible voters to come out en masse and exercise their franchise in an orderly manner on Saturday. Karima Salami, TVC News, Lagos.
Joining us now is the Southwest Coordinator Transition Monitoring Group, Suleiman Arigbagbu. Good morning, Suleiman.
Good morning.
I hope I got your name,
your
name correctly. All right, let's head straight to it now. You monitored the presidential and National Assembly elections, and you saw what went on, especially when it got to logistics with INEC. What would you expect now, looking at the elections coming forth on Saturday?
Yeah, thank you. The Transition Monitoring Group actually deployed 4,000 observers across the country, and we covered all the 774 local governments. And you know, the report is quite similar. INEC, unfortunately, in quite a number of places didn't arrive to time, but at least they arrived time enough for the election to hold. And indeed, INEC had to then extend the closing time for the polls. So yes, especially having to postpone the election was a logistic nightmare for everybody. But we are hoping that this Saturday we would go through that. We also saw some other challenges at the polling unit, like for instance, in some places, some things are not enough. They couldn't paste some instructions on the wall because they don't have the appropriate tool to do that, or the ink pad was not enough. Yeah. We are hoping that INEC would look into such things. INEC is overly centralized, and this is part of the election.
So what would you expect to decentralizing it?
INEC, in its operation, not the organization, in its operation. Non-sensitive material should be handled at state levels. There's no reason why somebody should be sending ink pad from Abuja, sending some things that, you know, this can be handled at state. So you will reduce the pressure on the INEC at the center. In many of the polling units, they didn't have enough ink pad. An ink pad is strategic to the election on that day.
But now INEC is saying that there is no going back on the use of smart card readers. But then you know again that there is no way we can rule out the issue of malfunction.
So I support INEC that there should be no going back on the use of card reader. We have put that beyond us. Yes, there are issues with malfunction in a number of places that we saw. On the average, I would say that about 7 out of 10, you'll see that the malfunctioning of the card reader is because perhaps the NYC guys did not have enough training, or they're just not able to handle the situation. Because of many of such issues, when they got back-end support, the thing eventually worked. And then you go to some polling units, and there are 2 polling points, and the card reader is working well in 1 point, and they'll tell you at the other side that network problem. So these are some of the things I need to come and clear, but we just have to keep improving.
Speaking about training, INEC is replacing airing ad hoc staff in Borno to ensure smooth governorship elections. It talked about those that couldn't ensure that people, did the right thing. Is this the right way to go?
Oh, definitely. And
INEC, your emphasis on training, please.
INEC first needs to clean up in terms of the ad hoc staff, because a lot of the headache that we saw are because either some were compromised or the training was not enough. But from our own observation, it's largely an issue of they needed further training. And one was hoping that at least one experienced person would have been part of the team at each polling unit. That would have helped the day, but it is what it is. We are hoping that this coming Saturday, INEC would have either further trained those who are being deployed, or perhaps we'll have that each of the polling units will have somebody. And then INEC needs a quick response backup support for each of these polling units.
Suleiman Arigbagbu, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.